Now, I first want to start this off by saying shout out to springtime basketball just coming back to the city. Daylight savings time coming through. You already know what it is. And as we enter down the stretch through the final stages of the season, make no mistake about it, my fellow Knicks fans, you will have detractors. As we're watching the national media in real time struggle to admit that the Knicks are good. Hell, they're even struggling to admit that Jalen Brunson is the best point guard in the Eastern Conference. But then again, this will be the landscape going forward. Even if the Knicks are set up to be a well-oiled machine for the next 5 years, we'll still have more detractors than more people like Kendrick Perkins backing us up on the national media side. But the excuses to take away the Knicks' credibility will be plentiful, as a lot of the Tyrese Halliburton and Damian Lillard talks have actually died down. And now we're seeing the national media in real time trying to find excuses of why not to put the Knicks as one of the top dogs in the East. And they're going as far even to say Embiid is making his comeback, even though Embiid, when fully healthy, has always been questionable in the playoffs as far as elevating up to another level to carry his team from round to round. Now he's supposed to do it after recently having major surgery. But at the end of the day, the basketball gods have finally come through, as Jalen Brunson is already battle tested as he proved last season down in Miami and the season prior, while helping the Dallas Mavericks advance through the Utah Jazz when Luka was out for the first 3 games of that series. And you mix that in with having one of the top 3-and-D guys in OG Anunoby, who low-key was a major contributing factor back in 2020 in that bubble in the playoff series against the Boston Celtics. He gave him a lot of issues. And the final missing piece that's about to make that comeback, hopefully that shoulder is looking good, Big Juju. Because even having him at 70% should be able to pull us through. And once again, as I stated before, the basketball gods are finally on our side. Because the NBA during the month of March have met up with their competition committee as well as their team officials. And they had emphasized certain parts of the rule book for the officials to mainly focus on going forward to prevent a lot of these 70-point games that we were seeing in the early part of January. It's almost like every other week somebody was scoring 60, 70 points. And a lot of the things that the league want the officials to now focus on actually benefit the Knicks. All these last-second dribble handoff screens, and with the offensive players pushing guys off with their off arm, guys like Giannis, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Stephen Curry, the league is trying to find a perfect balance between offense and defense to kind of counteract some of the competitive issues they're having, as right now they're in the midst of their television negotiations with Turner Sports and ESPN. So they're trying to make the television product as good as they can. And all the rules that they want the referees to sort of focus on right now actually favor teams like the Knicks. And a lot of these things are going to lead to less fouls being called, less off-arm action for offensive players, especially guys like Giannis, which is one of the big dogs we have to go through in order to get to the finals. So there's a lot of things that are coming into our favor as we enter down the stretch of the season, as guys regain health and make their way back into the lineups, and teams like the Cleveland Cavaliers and the 76ers fall down the standings. So when you take a step back and look at the landscape, all the pieces of the puzzle falling in place for the Knicks. And if we fall into the right position, aka either being in the second round or a Eastern Conference Finals matchup against the Boston Celtics, it doesn't leave much room for other teams like the Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks to make a lot of mistakes, because the Knicks are right on their heels. Hell, they could even hear our footsteps right behind them. And heading into the playoffs, they're only a few turnovers away, a little ankle tweak or injury away, or even a Jason Tatum fuck up away from the Knicks taking their spot. And they know it. We're right on their ass like MJ in '89, the Rockets in '93, the Lakers in '08, OKC in 2010, or the Miami Heat in 2011. They could definitely hear us coming.